It's a gorgeous day in Southern California, which is why I rode my Harley to the gym. And on the way back, I was just cruising and I made a right on the freeway, and this guy was speeding really fast, and then he slowed down because he saw me going into the lane. And so out of courtesy, I pulled back into my lane, kind of giving him the right of way. And I glanced over and he shook his head, pissed and furious at me, which made me angry because generally you got to give motorcycles the right of way. We're vulnerable. We go down, it's going to be very different than than a car that hits something. And so I felt myself getting angry. I felt myself wanting to throw something at this guy. And then as I was riding, I thought about this. And I played it back, and what I realized was I didn't actually turn my head, right? I just glanced at my rearview mirror. And so through his point of view, what he saw was me just swerving into his lane because I also didn't use my blinker. And so now that I think about it, he was right. He has every right to roll his eyes at me or shoot me a dirty look because I just swerved into his lane, right? Didn't use a blinker and I didn't turn my head. So I gave him no warning that I was coming. So it's totally fair that he was angry. Now, the reason I'm sharing this story is because I think that we do this in life. I think we get angry and reactive. We have feelings about a certain situation or what someone did or didn't do. And we don't think about, because I usually would not think about the other person's point of view and how they had the experience or what they experienced. I would just be pissed and go home and be angry and, take it out on, a flower or something. No, maybe not a flower, but I for some reason paused and thought about, wait a minute, what did he experience, And then I had the revelation that through his lens, through his perspective, through his experience, I was the one in the wrong, and like everything shifted for me. Where I was like, oh shit, and it made me check my anger and my judgment. And I think in life, there's a lot of times where something will happen. Like I said, someone will do something or didn't do something, or it doesn't matter if it's as small as a text message or a hard conversation, or maybe it is something that happens like this on the road, right? Road rage of some sort, and we react, and we're fast to anger. And we rarely put ourselves in the other person's shoe and truly let our guards down without judgment. Instead, from curiosity, try to experience what they experienced. And I think this is what self-awareness looks like, putting that speed bump between what happened and your reaction. And when you do that, one, you can deploy more empathy. Two, you may realize that you were wrong. You may understand now better and not take things so personally. When do we do this? Think about your life, and maybe something just happened where you're shaking your head and you realize, oh, you know what? This just happened. Let me actually see it from the other person's point of view. Here's the other thing that we don't think about as we react. We don't think about the other person's story. We don't think about what they've gone through and why they are doing what they are doing or why they did what they did. We judge the behavior and the reaction instead of understanding the person. Let me say that again because it's so important, especially in relationships. We are fast to judge the behavior, the act, what someone did to us without understanding the person, their story, their wiring, right? Their perspective, how they're experiencing something. If we can as much as we can, try to understand the person. And the closer we are to that person, the more we know their story, right? And also, the closer we are to that person, the more whatever they did is going to hurt us. But if you can understand that person more, which then creates room for empathy, and then you put yourself in that person's shoes and try to understand without taking things personally yet, and try to understand why they did what they did, said what they said, whatever it is, then you can be like, oh, okay. Then you can see that, then you can create this distance where you don't take things as personally. Then you can kind of understand. Now, you may not agree. They may have still did something that hurt you. I'm not saying to minimize your pain or what happened, but there is so much more ability to release, to let go, to not carry. If not, then you carry that anger, that energy, that frustration. You carry what happened, and then that ripples into other areas of your life, And so when you are able to try to understand before trying to be understood, when you are able to see something through someone else's eyes, there is so much rich soil for growth there. I think in that space, there are so many revelations. I mean, like the example I used today, and it's kind of a everyday life silly example, but it's a lot of these everyday silly examples that add up, right? Sometimes it's not about the big life-changing examples. It's like when you went to the grocery store and this person did that, or the argument you had last night with your girlfriend, or what happened to me today on my motorcycle. It's these little things that life throws at us where we can use them as exercises to grow, to look inward, to have new revelations about ourselves. And bringing all this back to the self, how is that going to change you? I know for me, having this experience and awareness, basically, it reminds me and puts more weight on me now wanting to put a pause before I react or before I jump to conclusions, and try to understand or try to see the situation through the eyes of the other person. And as much as I know about them, right, who they are, the way they experience the world, so that I can understand better, knowing that the more that I understand, the less I will carry. I really want to italicize that for you. The more that I understand, the less I will carry. The more that I understand, the less I will carry. So if you don't try to understand people who have hurt you, you're going to carry a lot more pain. If you can understand, and sometimes you're not going to have answers, sometimes we just hurt people and we don't know why. But if you can understand, if you can just crack that door a little bit with some understanding, and then right behind that empathy, and right behind that a letting go, life's just it's gonna be so much easier than to carry shit that you don't need to carry and walk through life with heavy shoulders and white knuckles. I most of my life was a walking reaction. If that was the old me today, I might have sped up, swerved in front of the person, slammed my brakes, I would have done a lot of stupid shit. And that's all reactive. That's all reaction. That's not looking inward or taking any ownership. That is just me vomiting my actions into the world. And that's partly why I was so miserable. So anyway, ask yourself as you go through this week, and things happen like this, whether it's at work or with friends or with family, before you are fast to anger, before you react, see if you could put a speed bump there. Try to understand / see the situation through the other person's eyes. knowing, considering everything you know about them and how they're wired and what they've been through, and then see if what that is like to you, and then see if you can respond to that instead of react. Thank you for listening. Be well.